Hi everyone, it's Kayla. Hope everyone's doing well. In addressing this particular assignment, I want to talk about a leadership trend in negotiation or conflict negotiation and conflict in organizations. Being a political science major, having a BA in political science, I always want to reference our political philosophers who's kind of give us that framework and foundation for our leadership models and paradigms that we actually practice. So in addressing this particular discussion topic, I wanted to reference Machiavelli the Prince, and saying that there's nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in an introduction to a new order of things. And I think a lot of times in conflict, negotiation, or organizational conflict, it stems from change, which we all know is a major and continual leadership trend. It's just a matter of how we deal with it, and as our different climates, culture, things change, so does how we change and progress. But one thing's always for sure, there will be some initial conflict, or how do we move employees to be understanding to the change, or how do we create that vision that aligns them with that change or strategy that we're trying to do. One thing in Rousseau, he writes that conflict among agencies, groups, departments, even divisions among government, the conflict arises from reinventing, restructuring, reorganizing, mergers, authority modifications, changing in the workplace, altogether. And this kind of brings in that hostility and tension. It's the change or the feeling of unknown as an employee, what that can mean to your career, what that can mean for your salary, compensation, also having that feelings or fear of failure, loss of status, and also not having that support or reinforcing a reward system for getting in line with the change, or having a sense of normalcy within the community and culture of the workplace. I think one important way to actually handle some of these things, or to deal with change or the conflict, is to actually follow Rousseau's principles in negotiating conflict. And one of the main points he says is to actually separate the problem from the person, to identify what the real issue is rather than the person's reactions or emotions. Another one is to focus on that person's actual interest and not the position. So, how do we get them more interested or eager into aligning with the change, or how do we change those behaviors to get them more interested in, jumping online with everyone. And then also invent mutual gains. I think a lot of times when employees are kind of scared or apprehensive about change, is, well, what's in it for me? And it's important to kind of model those different reward systems to make sure it is a gain for everyone. And then also insist upon an objective criteria, to have some type of system or critique, or how can we have those metrics or systems of measurement, performance measurement, and so on. I think one point that people always kind of are scared about is actually addressing. You can't be apprehensive when you're dealing with conflict or trying to negotiate. You have to understand it is an emotional reaction, but you cannot, as a manager or a leader, succumb to the actual emotional reaction, or having it escalate, I guess, into a confrontation. I think one way that my particular company is really good with, because we're always changing, especially within the direction of sales, that you always have goals and competitions to make sure that we are meeting our markers and meeting our metrics, and aligning with corporate goals as well, is to be more richer, meaningful to your actual employee. Make sure it's an interpersonal, it's an intergroup. You want to make sure that everyone is invested in the goal. And I think that's the rewards, and actually understanding and breaking down those feelings about the change or the conflict, and how we can all get to the goal together. But understanding it's not just the actual reaction, but also what the actual goal is, and how can we change those behaviors to lead everyone to the goal. And compromising. I guess you would say, to make sure that everyone is on board and understands. So that's really it. I think we all deal with conflict at work on some different level, whether it's more so just change, like I talked about, or workplace bullying. You know, there's an array of different things with conflicts, but definitely I think with change, that's a big leadership trend that we're all facing here. So that's it. Again, I talked about conflict negotiation and conflict and organizational restructuring with change. The sources I used, you'll see scrolling down the screen here in a second, but really more so referencing for Karen Rousseau's Leading Public Organizations, the interactive report approach. Definitely I recommend. It's a great book and definitely helped me a lot within my current position as I'm, molding and growing as a leader myself. So, thanks.